Thank you, sir. It sounds to me like my fellow senator is trying to get you to move FBI headquarters to Alabama. I have a full list of why it should move to Florida, and at the very least, maybe a Florabama FBI HQ.
Florabama.
Good people there, good recruits. We would fully support it. Moving on to a more serious matter, I know you would be shocked to learn this. As AG and as the chair of the Human Trafficking Council in Florida, we saw trafficking explode around the nation as a result of the Biden administration wide open borders. It's no surprise to anyone. But it might shock you to know that the National Human Trafficking Hotline that was funded by Congress to report tips to law enforcement in the last 4 years decided that they would no longer report tips to law enforcement, that they would take a more victim-centered approach. And this fell in line with a lot of what we saw over the last 4 years with people saying things like defund the police, abolish the police, nonsense policies that lead to an explosion in crime. You and I both understand that from our prior work experience.
तू जो ये गूगल शीट यूज करता रहता है पूरा दिन, तुझे पता है कितना टाइम वेस्ट होता है गूगल शीट में? अगर तू
years who said that we cannot arrest our way out of the human trafficking problem. And I quote, "Trafficking in all its forms is the end result of inequities, abuses of power, and massive systemic and government failures." Do you believe that that is in fact the cause of human trafficking, or is it the result of evil, heinous humans that seek to profit off of others' pain?
The only people responsible for human trafficking are the criminals that intentionally traffic in humans, in children, and exploit them. And if I'm confirmed, it will be one of the top priorities to make sure that doesn't happen in this country and that we find the thousands of missing children that are still missing.
I, along with many of the other attorneys general in this nation in a bipartisan fashion, not only demanded that they begin reporting tips to law enforcement so that they could follow up and go after the traffickers so that they didn't continue to victimize others, but we also came to Congress and tried to get funding pulled, or at least a mandate that they do what they were created to do, and that is to report tips to law enforcement. Do I have your word moving forward as someone who understands the necessity to go after traffickers, to not only identify and rescue victims, but to ensure there aren't other victims? Do I have your word you'll work with me to come to Congress to make sure that that happens so that that can never happen again?
You do, Senator.
I'm proud to say in Florida, we were able, when we didn't get that result here in Congress, we started our own hotline. It's one of the first in the nation. And no surprise, we immediately rescued 10 victims of human trafficking that were being held by force in massage parlors. Reporting to law enforcement works. It allows us to rescue and save lives. And I know you will bring that mission focus back to the FBI.
Thank you, Senator. I will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to touch on something that's been on my mind lately, and I will tie it back to this hearing. We have seen a wholesale attack and assault in the past 2 weeks by President Trump on the value of diversity. Through his executive orders, he is seeking to dismantle over 60 years of work to promote equal opportunity in the federal government. His pronouncements have gotten so bad that apparently the Defense Intelligence Agency issued a memo 2 days ago that it would no longer commemorate Martin Luther King Day, Women's History Month, Holocaust Day of Remembrance, or Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and so on. Why is there such a fear of people who are different? In Hawaii, we celebrate diversity and know that it gives us strength. It is part of what makes Hawaii and America great. Mr. Patel, earlier you shared some deplorable racist rhetoric that had been used against you. As someone who has also been the recipient of this sort of hateful language, I am deeply sympathetic. I also note, Mr. Patel, that in the past you have recognized the value of diversity. Back when you were in law school, you signed on to an amicus brief in the Grither case, supporting consideration of race in law school admissions. I hope that joining the Trump administration will not cause you to change your views on the